If you're wondering how to turn a plain old habitat in Planet Zoo from looking like this to looking something a lot more like this, with only 3 easy steps, you clicked on the right video. Hello everybody, I am Kiwi Plays and welcome to a new segment of the channel I am going to call Planet Zoo Tips and Tricks. This is going to be a multiple episode mini-series where I am going to share with you my top tips and tricks for Planet Zoo. So without further ado, please do enjoy this episode. The first step you're going to want to do when starting a new habitat is terrain work. The terrain work is probably the hardest step out of all of the steps in this video. This is the step where you really have to start by making the decisions and just go with what you feel like. This step will obviously vary depending on what animal you want to build for, what theme your zoo is building in, and it will just vary in so many ways. So you're just gonna need to take this video and just turn it into something that will help specifically you. I'm just gonna give you the overall example. So let's just say that we're building a habitat for an animal that wants to swim. Obviously you can skip ahead this part if you are not really interested in seeing how I do my terrain work. If you are not, then you can skip ahead to the second part, but if you are, stick around and you'll learn all kinds of cool tricks. So you go into the terrain tool and you're gonna go into the sculpting block and you're gonna go down to push. We're gonna start by pushing until the depth that we decide that is the best for us. Let's say that is a little bit too low for what I was going for, and the animal will probably drown if I'm adding a smaller animal. Even though in-game animals can't really drown, I'm gonna put the push button and just pull it up a little bit. That is the perfect depth of water that I would like. I'm gonna go to flatten to terrain and make the size a little bit bigger, maybe 3. And then we're just gonna go in here and make it the size that I want. I want it to be a nice little pond for, let's say, the red deer to swim in. So we're just gonna make it like the size that I want. Try to make it something more interesting and not just an oval or a circle. Try to make some like parts that just break out of the actual shape to make it look a bit more interesting. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Just like this, and yeah, I am actually pretty happy with how this is looking and how this is turning out, but I want the middle to be a little bit more deep. I'm gonna go into the push and I'm gonna do I'm only gonna touch the mouse very slightly so it doesn't push too hard in. Obviously you can also change the intensity back here, but I just feel like that this is what I want to do and I don't really feel like fiddling with that too much. So I'm just gonna make this little this middle part a little bit more deep, and then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go into the smooth button and I'm just gonna smooth it out like as much as I like. Obviously if I want, let's say, this part to be a little bit more rough, then I'll leave it like this and I'll smooth all the rest, but I want this little part to be a bit more rough, and you'll see in just a second why. I do recommend to maybe leave a little piece like this a bit rougher. You'll see in just a second why. It just adds a lot more contrast and makes the habitat look a lot nicer. So now we're gonna add the water. I usually like adding rough water because it moves around a lot and it just looks a lot more aesthetic. You're more than welcome to use calm water, but I like using the rough water. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. You can see that the water is placed in. I like how it looks. I like the depth. So now we're gonna move on to adding a little bit more of like hilly area around the habitat. So I'm just gonna press it a little bit and I'm happy with that height, so I'm gonna go to flatten to what did I do? I'm gonna go to flatten to terrain and just pull it around like this. Let's say that I'm happy with that. I'm gonna make it a bit smaller so that I can make it a bit more interesting, like I said. So I'm gonna make something like this, something more interesting, something that looks cool. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick to the flatten to foundation, and I am going to just like go like this and go into the middle. That way, as you can see, it's gonna flatten to the middle of this like terrain, and it's just gonna look really good. So I'm gonna flatten all of this, but I'm gonna leave a little bit that isn't gonna be flat, that I'm gonna leave rough like this. And yeah, so then I'm gonna go to the smooth button again. I'll make it a bit bigger, and I'm just gonna smooth it out like this. This back part I'm not really gonna touch too much. I feel like I have a good idea of something that I can do to make it look a lot nicer. So yeah, now I'm gonna go ahead and add a couple more just all around here, and I'm gonna come to you back when I feel like I like how everything looks. Okay, so I am back from making like little hills. I made it all around the little habitat. This is a really big trust the process moment. At this moment it doesn't look the best, but you just really need to trust the process, and you really just need to trust that it will get better. So yeah, now we're gonna go back into the terrain setting, and we're gonna go into the paint tool. We're gonna try to make it look as naturalistic as possible. Obviously you can again skip ahead in this part. I just really like to do this. You can also do this part a bit later, but I'm just gonna do it right now to get it done with. So I really like the soil, so I'm gonna add soil around the little water area, because it makes a lot of sense that there will be like lots of soil and lots of mud around the water area, and it's just something that looks really good. And I'm also just gonna go ahead and add some like walking paths, because obviously deer or any like big animals are very heavy animals, and I am imagining that I'm building this for an animal like a deer or a moose or something like that. And these animals, whenever they walk around, they make these really nice trailing paths in real zoos, and it just looks very good, and you can honestly see exactly where the big animal was walking around in. So I just feel like this is a little fun trick to add whenever you're building a habitat and you want to make it look a little bit more realistic and just make it a little bit better. This is something that I always like to add into my builds, just to make them look a bit better. So now I'm just mixing around some more dirt in to make it look not as plain. I'm just gonna make it like all mixed around and just make it look I don't know what to call it, just to mix it all around and to not make it look too bad. Then we're gonna add a tiny bit more rock. Just like go ahead and add whatever looks good to you. If you feel like you want to add some snow, go ahead and add some snow. If you want to add some sand, go ahead and add some sand. Nothing is limiting you, and you're more than welcome to do whatever you feel like. I like to add rock at the bottom of my water area and then mix it in with some soil, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. That's the fun of this game, that you're more than welcome, and that the whole point is to just do what you love and to just do what you think looks good, and not what I think looks good or what anybody else thinks looks good. To do what you think looks good. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and add a few more little details here with the terrain tools, and I'm gonna be back in just a second. Step number 2, which in my opinion is one of my favorite steps. I really do enjoy this part. It is very therapeutic to me, and I just really do enjoy it overall. But I do find that with new builders and beginner Planet Zoo creators, this can be a very challenging step. So I'm gonna try to break it down into as many small little pieces as possible, and just make it as easy and as simple for you to just follow along and just be as good as you can. So without further ado, let's hop straight into step number 2. Okay, so when it comes to rockworks, these are the 3 usual blueprints that I do usually use. These 2 I created myself, but this one I used Caesar Creates this one is Caesar Creates. This one is the Habitat Essential, and this is part from Caesar Creates' blueprint for the rock walls. Obviously, all of the blueprints that I will be using will be linked in the description down below. Definitely go and check them out. Also, these ones that I do use and that I did make myself, all of these 5 I made right now, just for the sake of this video. In case you don't have the aquatic DLC and you can't use these, I made these just in case. For anyone who doesn't have the aquatic DLC, you're more than welcome to use these. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have everything laid down right in front of us and everything is clear, we can start working on the habitat. We're gonna start by taking apart these, and we're gonna duplicate it over here. All of these rocks are from the aquatic DLC, except for these. I'm not too sure where they're from, but I know all of these are from the aquatic DLC, and they're all recolorable, so you're more than welcome to change their color to whatever you feel like. And we're also going to be taking a couple of these just over here. We're going to move them right here so we can also use them over here. Now we're just gonna start by, I usually start by taking this larger rock and just duplicating it and just sinking it in the ground using the shift button, putting it up and down in the ground until the level that I like it. And I usually start by just finding these like higher grounds. I'm not really sure what to call them, like these hills that we created before, and I just outline them with this. This is just usually the trick that I do. I find that it just makes the habitat look a lot nicer. This is a very trust the process like moment, like I said. Right now it won't look the best, but in just a couple of minutes you'll start to see it shaping together and looking a lot nicer. You need to always remember that there needs to be places for the animals to walk. And if it's an animal that their terrain needs are very bad, then they probably won't be able to jump over here. So you're going to need to make a place that they can walk around the rocks. Another trick that I've learned the past couple of episodes is if you just duplicate the rocks and do something along the lines like this and just duplicate it a lot and just shift a lot and just duplicate it a lot, I don't really know what to call it, and make lots of layers like this. At the end it turns out really nicely and just looks like a little mountain and like a little rock. So this is the part where you just have to play with it a little bit and see how you like it, if you like it like this or if this little rock is annoying you. So you can just press the X and move it back. Let's say that now I want to have a rock in here that is taller than everything, and I want to have another rock back here that is taller than everything like this. And just this is the part where you can just play around with stuff and make everything look good. After you have a shape more or less like this, you're gonna take the smaller aquatic rocks, like all of these or even these that I created. I'm gonna start with these and just spread them around. These are supposed to look like the little pebbles that you'll find all around naturalistic areas. You'll find lots and lots of tiny little pebbles, so just take your time and just copy it all, sink it in the ground and just make it look how you like it. And yeah, at the end it will look good. So I'm gonna just jump cut to when I am finished with this little section. That is it. I am done with adding all of the rocks. I know it does look a little bit intense, but you really just have to trust the process at this moment, and you obviously don't have to add as many rocks as I did. If this is a very deserty zoo, then you can add less rocks and you can add, I don't know, more sand. If this is like a very arctic zoo and you want it to be very freezing, you can add snow. and like rocks that are white and that imitate snow. You can really just go mad and add whatever you feel like. This is the part where you just do whatever you feel like. So yeah, I finished adding all of the rocks for now, and I'm gonna move on to step number 3. Now we're moving on to step number 3. This step can be very overwhelming because there are lots of plants to choose from, but what you really have to do is you just have to go through all of them and decide the plants that you like and just like them, like I do right over here. So I'm gonna go into my favorites, and you're more than welcome to take a screenshot or just look at the plants that I have in here. But I'm gonna start with decorating the pond because I feel like it really does add. So I am gonna find the type of plants that I usually add to make it look like algae, which is this periwinkle leaves. I'm gonna make it align to water, and I'm just gonna sink it in a little bit and just make it look a bit like algae. I really do love this part. It just looks really super cool, and as you can see, there are all sorts of like shades of green. I just recommend you to mix a couple of shades. I don't recommend to use the ones with the flowers, but just use a couple of shades and mix them all around like this, just making it look like algae. I really do love this part as it always adds realism to the build. So yeah, we're gonna add a tiny bit more. If you want, you're more than welcome to also add like this, the lily pads, but I don't think that I'm going to add them, especially not these bigger ones. If I will add any, it will be these smaller ones. You know what, they do look kind of alright, so I'm gonna add a couple, and just a couple of different shapes and sizes. I always recommend to look at all of the sizes because there are usually a couple of sizes, and just try to put them all and flip them around, rotate them, just to make it look like different shapes and different sizes, and so it doesn't look like you're just copying and pasting everything. The second thing that I usually do is I start by adding the trees. One of my favorite trees are, first of all, these black polar tree. I also really love the beech tree. This is beech, right? Yeah, beech tree. Another tree that I really do like are these black spruce trees, and another tree that I really like are the common ash. I just need to find them right now. Also another tree that I like are these Himalayan pine trees, but they just need to really fit the theme that you're building for. Again, if you're building for a very deserty zoo, then you would use deserty trees and stuff like that. These maple trees are also trees that I really do like. Let me find the common ash. Where are them? Where are they? Here they are. These are the trees that I've just really been loving. So I am gonna start by adding the trees. And let's say that this was a habitat and that the guests would be viewing from right over here, then I would ideally not want to add any like big trees like this, because then it will block out the view for the guests. So I would think about adding the bigger trees at the back and the smaller trees in front, and just make sure that it doesn't make sure that the guests still have a really nice view. So I'm gonna start by adding the smallest one here and just seeing where I would like to add some trees. And you should always try to add at least 2 types of trees, just to add variation and just to make it look good and not boring. As you saw over there, I flipped the tree around to make it look like a different tree. And again, just because the trees are in different height levels, oh no, I didn't want to add that one, I wanted to add the middle one. Just because the trees are different height variations, then you can tell that they look like a bit more different, they don't look all the same. Then I'm gonna add maybe, let's see what other trees. I will like these black polar trees, so I'm gonna add one over here. And now I'm gonna add a spruce trees. I really do recommend to use these thinner ones and just rotate them and sink them in, because these big ones are just a little bit too big for my liking. Yeah, so I'm just gonna add a couple more all around here. And again, I'm gonna say it again, it does depend on which habitat you want, and you can also add just not a lot of trees if that is what you like. This part is just you doing what you like and just you experimenting with stuff. So I just really do advise you to just put down as many trees as possible and just experiment with them, see what looks good. Like I was looking at the maple tree and I saw, but in here it doesn't look good because it's going to block the view of everything that is back there. So I might add a bigger one here in the background, just to give it a very foresty feel. That's another tip that I have. Just try to put lots and lots of trees here in the background, and specifically the bigger trees, like these elm trees are really big. I usually do put them in the background of my habitats because they just block out the view and they look pretty good, honestly. So yeah, so just to make it look like that. Okay, so I am done with adding the trees. Now I'm going to go on to moving the foliage that is going to be on the ground. I really do recommend starting with the buffalo grass. Here it is. I was going to search for it, but there is no need. The buffalo grass is seriously one of my favorite grasses. They just add so much dimension and add so much beauty to your habitats. I definitely do recommend to just go ahead and put the buffalo grass. What you can do is you can just place it like this all around the habitat like this and just make a group out of them and group them together. And then once you like it, you can go down and sink it to the height that you like. Or what you can do is you can just straight away from the beginning sink it into the height that you like. That is what I usually do, because let's say that if I want it here a bit higher, then I'll do it here taller, but then here if I want it shorter, then I'll do it shorter. I recommend using the biggest buffalo grass, and then when you go into smaller spaces, then take the medium buffalo grass, because it's just a lot easier when you have a lot more coverage. So yeah, again, I do recommend you to think about the paths that the animals walk around, because it won't be realistic to put just like here buffalo grass, because this is probably the path the animals take to go into the water. So I wouldn't want to do that. I would probably want to just put where there are rocks, because where there are rocks, usually the animals won't be stepping around too much. So just go around all the places where you added the rocks and just use the shift button and like sink it into the ground how you like it and bring it out. Just fill the habitat with lots of buffalo grass. And as you can see, I only started to do it right over here and it already looks really amazing. So I'm gonna finish adding buffalo grass to the whole habitat and I will come back to you. So I finished adding all of the buffalo grass in everywhere here, and in my opinion it just really upgraded it. Along with the buffalo grass, I also added some trees in the background just to fill it in a little bit, just to make it look a bit more just like packed and just to make it a bit more like a forest. And yeah, now you can honestly just stop like this, but I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna carry on to add a little bit more plants here and there. Another thing that I do recommend you to do is if you have like a water area and you want to add any water plants, you can do that. It also does really improve the look of the habitat and also does really improve the look of the water area. I recommend to put it around the rocks or around like just not floating around in here. Maybe we will add some here, but just don't put too many, and just don't put it in places where it's out of place. Try to just make it look as nice as possible, obviously. So I'm just gonna add a couple in here, and then I am also going to add some of the buffalo grass, not the buffalo grass, the other I'll show you in just a second. We're also going to add this common reed or whatever it is, just to add some more color and just to make it look a little bit nicer. And the last one, I'm not too sure what it's called. This, the elephant strip. I was very close with the buffalo grass. Let's add just a couple here and there to make it just look a bit nicer. How do I like how it's looking right now? I don't know. And this is the whole fun with the game. If you do not like how it looks, you can always go back and delete. You can always go back and remove anything just to make it look how you like it. So like this, I feel like it looks great. Yeah, it looks like this good. Let's just add one here in the middle, just to make it look a bit nicer, and one on this side like so. Yeah, this looks really great. Maybe let's add another one like this. And yeah, this is like the whole fun of just building, is going back and adding or just fixing and to make it look how you like it. Okay, I do like how it looks right now, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to go into like the plant section, go down, scroll a bit, and just look for plants that I feel like look the best, like this arrow wood, and I'm just gonna put it down using the shift button. Just sink it down into the ground and see how it looks. And this was just an example, the arrow wood, but I really want you to go ahead and to try to just look around and just look at all of the plants that are in the plant section, like these dry leaves, and just go ahead and play with it. And I'll be back to you guys when I finish putting all the plants down. Okay, so as you can see, I am done with adding all of the bracken and all of the nettle and blue stem all around, and it just really does look really great. Hopefully you did understand from this video how to make beautiful habitat and how to make the nature in the habitat look really good. This is a video for more of like this temperate climate. If you would like me to make a video on how to decorate more tropical climate or Arctic climate or deserty climate, just let me know down in the description, down in the comments, not in the description, and I definitely will be sure to address all of them and to talk about everything. This is a video that is going to be quite a long one, not the video, this is the first video out of many just explaining how to do stuff in Planet Zoo. I'm not going to explain how to build very complicated stuff because I feel like I myself still haven't mastered that, and I still don't know how to build as well as I would like to. But I feel like the day will come when I will be good enough to show you guys everything in Planet Zoo. But for now, I feel like I'm going to just let you know and just film videos on stuff that I am good at. And this is the first video out of many of just Planet Zoo steps and just explaining how to do stuff. So yeah, hopefully you did enjoy this episode. If you did, please do consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button. Obviously you do not have to, but it just really does help me to grow my little kiwi family and to just grow this little channel. So yeah, that's the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy and if you did watch until this point, please do consider going down below, hitting that like and subscribe and writing a nice comment. Yeah, that's it for today. Hope to catch you in the next one. Bye guys.